Hello there, I know it's been quite a while and I apologize for that. I'm actually going to make a video about, why there's been some delays and, some future things about the channel. But today I have a music review for you on a brand new album. I haven't done a music review in actually a very long time, and I always plan on doing one because I usually get a lot of positive feedback, and I think this is probably like the first one of a newly released album that I've done, and I've literally tried to make, I think, about 4 album reviews for new albums just released this year. And the thing about music is you gotta listen to it for a while. It's not like movies where you can see it and then review it. For me, at least, I gotta listen to the music for a little while before I'm able to really review it and be articulate rather than just being repetitious or really not having listened to the music enough. So that's what I always try to do, and then by the time I've listened, or I think I've listened to it sufficiently, the review just gets away from me, as a lot of videos do. So there's literally like 4 reviews where there's tidbits of clips of me trying to review an album that just never made it to YouTube. So this time, I'm happy to say that I'm actually going to get one done. Today, I have a review for the newest album from one of my favorite current or active bands, and that is the Black Keys, their new record, El Camino. I was very excited for El Camino for a number of reasons. It's following up Brothers, which is one of their best albums. Really the album that, broke them out from the underground, and it really got them noticed, won a bunch of Grammys, and I was very excited to see what they would do next. Secondly, because the first single released from it was Lonely Boy, and that was only released about a month or so ago, and it was just awesome. Really had a fantastic sound, so I was very excited to see if the album played out like that song, and it really does. For some reason, even from the cover, I can tell what this album was going to be like. Just with the car, and it just has a totally different tone going into it than Brothers did. Referring to Brothers because it was their most recent and most popular so far. That's probably why I'm going to keep comparing it to Brothers. Also because it has probably one of the biggest deviations from that because of Brothers almost made them iconic for. Now they're breaking into a much different sound that's just a lot more fast-paced, but is different. I respect the fact that they're changing their sound, and I actually don't have any problem with it. In fact, I would say that I do like this better than Brothers. I know Attack and Release is also a big favorite, and Rubber Factory I also do quite like, but I would actually have to say, and yet again, I've only been listening to this, I think, it's been out a week now. I'm not quite sure yet because a big part of music for me is replay value, but I'd have to say so far this is probably my favorite album of theirs. Very similar sound in a lot of respects. It's the same vintage sound that's made them popular, and the reason I love them is because they have a very strong classic rock, but also mixing a lot of modern sounds in there, which is what I really like. Is they have a lot of great fusion in that sense, but it is a much more fast-paced album, which is one of the problems I did have with Brothers. I never really have a lot of really long songs, but overall just the track listing is shorter, which is fine because this album does keep a lot better of a pace than Brothers did. One of my big problems with Brothers, even though I did not have that many, was the fact that it does lose pace actually fairly quickly on. Usually their albums tend to be top-heavy in the sense that the songs that I knew going into, or I hear a lot going into. For Brothers, it was Tighten Up, Howlin' For You, Everlasting Light, those. And, after those, it started to weigh down a little bit. And then, it goes back up. El Camino going into it, also, Lonely Boy, Gold on the Ceiling, and Little Black Submarines were the ones that I had heard talked about a lot. And those all appear in the very beginning of the album. But this one is a different story with that. So that tends to happen a lot. So I felt like Brothers did taper off towards the end. And eventually just, it slows down. And El Camino, I feel like it really doesn't do that. You can listen to it straight through without really thinking about skipping the song or moving on to something else, because it just flows very nicely. It also has to do with the fact that they don't really have any drastic changes in sound between songs. While they do have a very original and unique sound, it's not varying from song to song. I know a lot of artists do that, and that's not a complaint necessarily about the Black Keys. It's just the fact that they do generally, or at least within albums, they keep a very similar sound from song to song, which does help it flow very nicely. And that's one of the great things about El Camino, is you can go straight through. There really aren't any slow points. The only actually toned down song is the first half of Little Black Submarines. Everything else really is just go, go, go. And I really love that because they have experimented with different types of sound, so I'm happy to see them go here. As much as I love the stuff from Brothers and previous albums, I feel like this is something that breaks onto a whole new level. It's definitely a much bigger sounding album. It's the same producer from Attack and Release and Brothers, Danger Mouse, and he really does do a very good job of not overproducing, but actually giving them a great sound, because I mean, if you hear them live and if you hear, you know, the unedited stuff, you can tell that a lot of it is post-production work, definitely creating that vintage sound, which is totally fine because it still sounds very genuine and still is very unique without, yet again, being overproduced. So I think I really have to give a lot of respect for the production team on this one, because that's honestly one of the pinnacles of this music. Only an 11-track album, but it is just so amazing. It's great that you have these about 3-4 minute songs and only 11 of them. It's a fast album in both its runtime and the actual pacing of the songs, and I really do like that. Honestly, a lot of the music you just want to get up and move to. That's one of the great things about the Black Keys, is they have a classic blues sound, but also they have these amazing beats that really just really make you want to get up and move, especially Lonely Boy, which is definitely one of their best songs. I'm not sure if I have a favorite song off the album yet. It's going to take a lot more time to see which one lasts the longest. Usually that's how I determine which songs are my favorites, which I can listen to the most amount of times. I mean, going into it, Lonely Boy, because it was the one I knew. They really didn't do a lot of other they didn't do a lot of promotional work as releasing material. I think there was a lot of samples put online that I tried to stray away from, because I like to just go into an album and really only know a few songs. But right off the bat, you just get sucked right into the album. The first 3 songs, you go through instantly, and then you hit Little Black Submarines, which a lot of people are talking about. Mostly compliments, because it's a very, very awesome track. You know, you go from the acoustic, the ballad, to this just rock riff right half through, and it's getting a lot of praise for that, because it is a very interesting song lyrically, and the way it's composed. A lot of comparisons and talks of influence from Led Zeppelin on this track. I've heard it in a positive tone. I've also people saying that it's a complete rip-off of Stairway to Heaven, which I actually don't see at all. If anything, it's definitely very similar to Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, because it just goes from that acoustic to that very hard electric guitar sound very quickly. But I mean, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, you know, switches in between the entire song, is where Little Black Submarines is just acoustic, and then, you know, the switch. So, but I don't see Stairway at all. Tracking back a little, I'd also like to talk about Gold on the Ceiling, because that's another one it's released as a single. I'm pretty sure of that, and it is also one that's getting a lot of talks, just because it's a very, very cool sound. It's one of those just enticing songs that as soon as you hear the first 10 seconds of it, you want to listen to. It's definitely one of the better tracks on the album, and I just really like it. It's definitely the epitome of what their sound is and why you should love it, because it combines perfectly blues, vintage, and modern sound, and that are all just put together very well. Just to show off the artwork and packaging as such. Actually, one of my favorite things about it was when I went to pick it up in the store, you know, obviously wrapped in plastic, but there's a little sticker on it that just says, "Play Loud." And it really just plays to their image and their sound and, well, you know, what they represent, especially because there's so little importance of rock these days. It's great to see things like that, and you just got me excited once I saw it. I just wanted to tear the package off and listen to it. But anyway, you know, you open it up, you know, it's a 4-panel, I guess you could say. It opens up like that, much like a vinyl, and you just have all these cars, none of which I hear are El Caminos. Then you got the back, you know, more cars. It's actually really cool. Yet again, I just feel like it totally plays to the sound, the music itself, just the tone. I think they did just a great job, and definitely. Yeah, so then you open up here, you got the disc in there, and then in there is the pamphlet. As far as writing goes, Auerbach and Carney's lyrics aren't as good as ever. I feel like, actually, they are pretty similar to their previous works. It's just the sound that's really different here. But I think that the songwriting, while it has improved, it also structurally is somewhat similar. But I'd also like to mention that there are fantastic backing vocals, in addition to keyboards that you hear on tracks like Lonely Boy, as far as the keyboards go. But you know, those things, they really do just help make the album all that better, just having these little things in there. because all around the sound is just amazing. I'm not gonna go through every single song, but Moneymaker, right after the Black Submarines, I feel like right around here is when the album, it makes its only slight come down a little bit, because the beginning is so big that it's bound to happen, what goes up, but I really don't even want to say that, because I feel like I'm insulting something that's so insignificant, because I do like the next couple tracks. And then I think, I do like Sister, but then Hell of a Season, really just has this very powerful sound that is very reminiscent of The Clash, which they've cited as an influence, and I definitely see it in that song. Just these amazingly powerful sounds, and I really, really dig that, both in the vocals and the guitar, and just everything works a lot in that song. I've just recently got really into that song, because that's what happens is, first, when you get an album, you listen to it a couple times through, and then you start to pick out the ones you like, and you're like, oh, I want to listen to that now, and that's how the play counts rack up. There's nothing I specifically have to say about the next two tracks. I do like them, but I haven't listened to them enough to really comment on them specifically. But the last track, the final track, Mind Eraser, I do really love. It's a fantastic track. Good way to end the album. It's one of the more catchy songs, tune and lyrical-wise, that you got singing along to, because it actually is, more so than some of the rest of the songs in the album, is much like something you would hear on Brothers. But I don't want to compare these two that. I've been comparing them the whole time, but it's almost unfair. But Mind Eraser, honestly, by the end of this album, they're singing on Mind Eraser, "Don't let it be over," that's the refrain, and that's honestly what I was thinking the whole time, because I really didn't want it to end, but we'll have to wait for the next album. To promote this album, or just touring in general, and I'd love to see them over the next year. Obviously, they'd play some songs from here, and I just really think it'd be cool. Definitely be cool to see the Black Keys in concert. So, there you have it. I absolutely adore El Camino, the Black Keys' new album. Is it the best of the year? It's definitely up there. I haven't decided what's my favorite yet, but in my year in review, which I do at the end of every year, I'm going to do a music section, and I will recount what are my favorite albums of the year. This will definitely be on there, though, but I'm not quite sure what placing it'll get. Overall, El Camino is a classic vintage sound that we've learned to grow and love from the Black Keys, but also adding something new, just with a powerful, fast pace, and amazingly huge sounds. El Camino symbolizes a step forward for the Black Keys, or just a step in a general different direction, but I like where it's going, and I cannot wait to see more from them.